Hey everybody, it's Dr. V. I'm back. I apologize for not having been on the last couple of days. My little guy had a medical scare, so we've been getting some testing done, getting a lot of that taken care of, but it looks like it was just a scare and everything's going to be okay. So, but if you want to send lots and lots of prayers and positive energy, I would certainly receive it with much gratitude. So I'm going to do your daily love reading for those in soul-based connections. That can be twin flames, soulmates, divine counterparts, really whatever language you like to use. I'm really getting more and more away from using the labels because I feel like the labels create boxes. I feel like a lot of people are like, well, if this is my twin flame, then then there's certain expectations and ideas that they have that go along with that, which can be limiting. So I'm really in this mental space of trying to move through how to use, how to transcend labels. Anyway, so for those of you that have new subscribers, those of you who have liked and commented on my recent videos, thank you so much. I appreciate all of the love. Those of you who have sent in energy exchange donations, thank you so much for that. It really is beneficial and it helps me to continue doing things like purchasing new decks, especially the more inclusive decks I've been transitioning to. I've had to invest in purchasing that, which is fine because that was my decision, but I appreciate all of your love and support and energy exchanges. For those of you that would love to book a private reading with me, all of the information to do that is in the description box. And I'm getting caught up today, and I will be back on regular schedule starting after this weekend. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Spirit, please use me as a clear channel for this message. I call upon my guides, angels, counsel, and ancestors to be with me in this time. I ask that the messages that come through be in the highest good of all those concerned. All right, so I'm going to use two decks today. I'm going to use the Numinous Tarot and the Spellcaster's Handbook. I'm going to use the Numinous Tarot for the Divine Feminine and the Spellcaster's Handbook for the Divine Masculine. So right now I'm going to use, pull two cards for the connective energy. So this is what the Divine Feminine is bringing in. This is what the Divine Masculine is bringing in. So the Divine Feminine is bringing in this Creator of Vials card. Now the Creator of Vials, I love this deck, by the way. I'll put a link in the description box so you can get your own copy if you'd like to read and you're looking for more inclusive decks. So the Creator of Vials is very, very powerful. This is a person who has gone through, like really dug in and did the deep work in their emotions and learned really tough lessons. This is a person who has kind of gone through the dark night energy, gone through the transformation process, someone who is working on the awakening, someone who is very, has a ton of empathy and is able to connect with others without picking up their stuff. So a lot of times people will talk about being empaths, which again is not a label that I love, but we'll use it here because people understand it. And that they feel drained by others. And part of being a person that, spiritual person that works in a light worker is learning how to protect and manage your energy. And so this is a person who has moved from that space of, oh my gosh, I'm so drained because people just tap into me. And this is a person who's learned how to master their own energy and can be in that space of empathy without picking up and carrying other people's burdens. This is a person who is ready to, who understands their own magic, okay? So this is someone who has been in the space of understanding that they are powerful, capable beings. This is someone who has understood in a deep way their own ability to manifest. So this is very magical, okay? So the feminine energy is in this very, very magical state, recognizing like I can manifest whatever it is that I set my mind to, whatever I put my attention to is what I can create and can bring into the world. Now this is a person who is very well boundaried, okay? This is a person who is not going to be like caught up in other people's drama, it's just someone who is very conscious and aware of who and what they allow into their world. So that's really positive energy for the feminine. Now the masculine energy is bringing in the Two of Pentacles in reverse, which is talking about being imbalanced. This is an energy of overwhelm, turmoil, where they're feeling like they have been juggling for a long time, but they're not doing a good job. This is actually like dropping a ball in the juggling. It could be that something, maybe they've been deceptive in some way, is and the deception is exposed. It could be just an indication that whatever it is that they're doing cannot be kept up for a long time. It's basically like they're burning themselves out. They could be at an extreme. They're operating at extremes. Okay, so what I'm getting is like somebody who may not be sleeping a lot, but is trying to put in, like trying to do too much. So they're like not taking care of themselves, not putting in that energy, and a lot of it is just about trying to manage a situation that has been out of balance for a while is what's coming through. They're in this space of really trying to overcompensate perhaps for something where they dropped the ball in the past, and now they're like they picked it up and now they're trying to redo again, but it's not a balanced energy, and it's not something that can be sustained for long. This is not a positive energy for the masculines. It feels like they're headed for some kind of, if they don't make a change, they could be headed to some kind of breakdown or burnout. Okay, so the feminine's readiness to come into connection, Tower in reverse. The masculine's readiness to come into connection is the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. So the Tower in reverse is, as we know, the Tower is often suggestive of things falling down. Now this is saying, because it's in reverse, it's saying that the feminines have been through a sudden upheaval. It's like, but it's over. It's like now the dust is settling. This is like they're starting to be able to rebuild. The storm is clear. So it's like the after the hurricane kind of energy. It's saying like that whatever the life-changing event that just happened is over, but it's like the aftershocks. Okay, so it's like the earthquake is hit. The primary, like it's already, that has happened, but there's still some shock waves. So it may be like you may have some continuing things that are happening. Now, if it was something that you went through that was traumatic, then it's something that you really need to make sure that you're dealing with that. Okay, you don't want it to. Don't do the spiritual bypassing thing that people often do, which is like, yeah, I just went through, crazy time and it was super traumatic, but I'm fine, I'm cool, everything. Like, don't do that to yourself. If you went through something hard, give yourself the space to be able to feel that and to be with yourself through that, okay? You don't have to, and just because you're a spiritual person doesn't mean that you're not impacted by things, okay? When things happen, painful things hit, life shifts happen, we are human, we are all impacted by it. Now, it doesn't mean that it has to control you, okay? So for instance, I got this, just personal disclosure, they got this pretty scary call from my son's doctor the other day, and making a referral to a department that was, it's a call that no parent ever wants to get, okay? Just put it that way. And my immediate response was like, overwhelmed, and I felt like my heart rate increased. But what I did was I called a friend who I know and who's very grounded, and we spoke, and she offered some reassurance. I got myself together. I felt like emotional for a few minutes, and then I kind of got grounded again. I was like, okay. But then I was able to finish out the rest of my day without like in a panic state, no worrying. I just went back to like the faith, where I'm like, okay, this is, this, I know what's going to happen. All things work. And I kind of prayed and did some things. So I'm not saying that I wasn't anxious. I didn't have feelings about it. What I'm saying is that it wasn't something that controlled me. Whereas 10 years ago, that kind of information would have wrecked my day or days on end. And so I'm saying with spiritual maturity and growth, like these things happen. You acknowledge it, you reach out for help, you get the support that you need, you do what you need to do, you take care of yourself. Like yesterday, I didn't do any work at all. I just took the day off and just recovered with my family after the appointment was over. And that was fine. That was what I needed to do. So it's fine to take that time to recover when you've gone through something difficult. It's great to do that. Reach out for help. Do what you need to do. Take care of yourself. Sleep, eat, do all of that. and recognize that it's a totally normal response, and don't allow yourself the space to sort through the feelings and what was lost and what was all of that experience for you. I get too many times where people are like, oh, but it's I'm spiritual, so everything should be fine. No, that's not always the case. So anyway, moving on. The divine masculine, in their readiness. So basically what I'm getting out of this, I feel like I'm talking a lot here, but it feels important to share. What I'm getting from this Tower in reverse for the feminine's readiness is that the feminine has gone through some stuff, has torn, things have fallen apart, and now is rebuilding. So what I'm getting is that you're not fully ready for union quite yet, because you're still sorting through. You're still, making sense of the situation, but it's not what it was before. So it's kind of, you're getting closer and closer to being ready. It's just not, I don't feel like for the feminines that I'm channeling for right now are just not quite there. It's like you're the worst is over, but you're just not quite at the space where you feel totally ready. Now, the masculine's readiness is it's saying like, they're still in this period of delay. Okay, it's the end of the delay, but it's still a delay period. It feels like they're not being patient. It feels like they're wanting things, like, to push things forward. It feels like seeds that they planted didn't manifest the way that they thought it would. It was like, I thought this was going to happen this way, but it didn't, and now they're feeling disappointed. Again, not getting equal payout for what they're investing. So in terms of readiness, I feel like the masculine is still in that space of not being ready. They're wanting things to happen too quickly. They're wanting things to happen on their terms, so they're being impatient. And as you know, if you're impatient when you've planted something, you can actually screw up the how it grows, because things need to grow in their own time. If you water it too much, or if it can mess it up. So what I'm getting is that neither party is really ready, but getting closer and closer. It's like the work is being done, the work is happening internally, and people are getting closer, and they're moving more and more toward that. It's just not quite the time. So what is the soul, their soul purpose right now? So what is the soul doing? Learning. Okay, the 10 of Vials in reverse. And the 9 of Pentacles. Very interesting, because the masculine energy is very much grounded right now. They've drawn 3 Pentacles already. That's very much about material world. So it feels like spiritually, they're not even really considering too much around like spiritual stuff. It's like they're just looking to the all of this is about material stuff. Okay, so that's very interesting. So I don't see, literally there's nothing other than like financial and material energy that's showing up for the masculine right now. So with the feminine soul purpose right now, it says that I like these cards, and they're new, so I want you to see them. This is up right. So in reverse, it's saying that the feminine is not finding herself in a supportive environment right now. It's like maybe her family isn't being, maybe their family isn't being supportive. Maybe it's like people aren't really, your friends aren't really seeing, the people around you just aren't really seeing you. They're not supporting you. They're not understanding what's going on with you. It's like it could be around this connection. It could be around the fact that you're like in this connection, and people just don't understand it. And because they don't understand it, they're not really able to support it. And then you feel kind of like alone and isolated with them. So what I'm getting is like really connect. Feminines, your soul purpose right now is to help you get connected with a community, a family, so to speak, that does understand you and that does support you and value you. Not all family. This is about getting connected with your soul family. Literally, that's what just came through. The message that Spirit wants you to have, your soul's purpose right now, is to get you into a space where you're feeling connected with your soul family. That's what you're supposed to be doing right now. That's the important work that you need to be working on, is finding your people and getting connected with them. Okay? So the masculine's purpose right now is this 9 of Pentacles. It's literally about coming into harmony. It's about building solid foundation, putting the pieces together so that they can have a life that's balanced, harmonious, peaceful, has security, good marriage, good relationship, those kinds of energies. This is what they're working on right now. It's important because if the masculine energies tend to be more like what we would call the provider, have that kind of being able to support family, that kind of energy. And if they don't have it, it's going to be very difficult for them to feel like they're fulfilling their purpose and doing what they're meant to do on this planet. So they are working on that. It's a struggle right now. It is definitely a struggle, but that's what their soul's purpose is right now, is helping them to garner that material stability and to get solid and build that foundation. I think that it's connected to worthiness. What's coming up is that it's connected to their own sense of worthiness and lovability, and whether they have what it takes. This is a test for them to determine whether they actually have what it takes to be the provider that they would like to be. So I'm going to move these cards aside and move into the next part of the reading, which is, what are the karmic issues that are being worked through right now? The Hanged One. Oh my gosh, another pentacle. That is bizarre. The masculines are really working through some material stuff right now. So the feminine karmic issue is the Hanged One. This is about kind of just being in a stuck position, okay? It's like I wouldn't even necessarily call it stuck. You're just kind of hanging out, okay? It's like learning that essentially that they're in this position. It's like you're hanging from your ankle from a tree over some water. But if you look at the face of the character, they're not worried at all. They're just kind of like, okay, this is where we are. And that's what I was describing earlier with that situation with my little guy, is that it was like this moment of, it's like you want to panic, but it's like, well, what is that going to do? Like, I can't, it's me panicking, me freaking out, getting all like worked up about it isn't going to change anything. So I'm just going to let go and just be where, like, okay, this is where we are. This is what we're doing. This is what's going on right now. Cool. Now, that is about emotional mastery. It's about recognizing, like, this card to me is that it's like, okay, this is what it is. You looking at your divine sacred soul love connection, looking at it being like, okay, this is a situation right now. My counterpart may be in a karmic situation. Now I could sit here and be all worked up about it. I can be questioning and wondering and doubting, or I can just say, this is what we're doing right now. I'm going to focus on my own growth, on my own happiness. And that is where the feminine is. The feminine energy is in this space. This is the karmic lesson, or may not be in this space, but this is working through the karma of how to get to that space of literally just being okay in whatever circumstance, accepting, surrendering, letting go. It's not about, again, spiritually bypassing things or ignoring situations. It's literally just about recognizing that the situations that present themselves in life, sometimes they are out of our control. Sometimes there's nothing we can do about it, and we can, but as we learn to surrender, we can live in peace and not having to feel out of control, even though it's something we're not controlling. Does that make sense? It's like you don't have to, just because something is out of your control doesn't mean that you're out of control. I hope that made sense. So the masculine's karma right now. Wow. Some of y'all masculines are going through it. So if this is you that I'm channeling, just know that I'm sending you so much love, because it feels like things are not easy right now. But the King of Pentacles in reverse, the karmic lesson that the masculines are working through right now, is somebody who's not being honest. This is, I think, the second or third time that lack of honesty came up. This is somebody who isn't operating from the best of intentions. So it's like they could be whatever it is that they're doing is not coming from the right space. It's coming from a space of greed. It's coming from a space of self-promotion. It's coming from a space of wanting to prove themselves. And because of that, they're like leaning, kind of going over the side of almost obsessive energy. Feeling, but they're part of that is because they don't feel like they're good enough. This is about, I don't feel good enough. I feel a sense of like deep-rooted shame. And shame is, remind you, guilt is, so feelings of guilt are when you've done something wrong and your conscience is like pricking you for having done something wrong. Shame is this sense of the self being fundamentally wrong. Guilt is like, I did something wrong. Shame is, I am wrong. And so it feels like the masculines are really working through a lot of that deep-rooted shame right now, and feeling like maybe they aren't being honest with their motives. They're not being honest with what's driving them. There's some kind of deep-rooted insecurity and shame that's showing up. And then they're covering for it with this, like, trying to prove themselves financially and trying to show that they have what it takes to be successful, but it's not working out. As we saw with this, Two of Pentacles card in reverse, it's not working out. They're trying, but it's not working, and they're feeling that sense of like, damn, I'm putting in all this effort and it's still not working. So they're questioning their ability to provide. They're questioning their masculinity as a whole. Okay, so that's the karma that they're working through that needs to be resolved. So let's move this. Actually, I'll move that up. Okay, so how are you connected on a soul level? That's what I want to get right now. How are the divine masculine and divine feminine connected on the soul level? Beautiful awakening and the magician. Although it's in reverse, we're going to go ahead and I feel like that's a positive thing. So it's both major arcana. Okay, so there's big energy. The awakening card for the divine feminine, this is how they're currently connected on a soul level, is really kind of coming to an end of a cycle. It's been this huge journey. It's been like a growth journey. It's recognizing, right? It's like the light at the end of the tunnel. It's recognizing that, yeah, you've been through a tough time. You've been in this like kind of dark cave. You've been in this maybe dark night of the soul, but you're recognizing how far you've come. It's that that sense of recognition, like, man, I've been through a lot. This has been challenging, but look at how much I've grown. Okay, this is also big changes ahead. Okay, this is about kind of going within, listening to what lessons you're learning, what lessons you have learned. Allow yourself this opportunity to look back over the course of the last 3 to 6 months and see how much you've changed and how much you've grown. Find whatever it is, like whatever decisions, whatever big decisions that are coming your way that you need to make, and recognize that the struggle is coming to an end for you right now, which is really great, because that was what the energy that came through earlier was, the sense of having been through a lot and now it's kind of coming to an end. So the masculine is how the masculine, what's going on with the soul level connection is recognizing that they need to do things differently. It's like there was an opportunity that was presented to them, and what I'm getting is that it's connected with the divine feminine, because this is around this connection. So it was like the feminine presented an opportunity, some kind, whether it was a love offer, whether it was mirroring something back to them that they were able to then, that they could have had the opportunity to change. They failed to take that opportunity, and so now they're having to deal with that again. It's like they are I'm getting that some of them could just be like really lacking energy and vitality, just feeling kind of like, or putting their energy in the wrong places. Like instead of focusing on the things that they that could actually bring them benefit and growth, they're focusing on things that aren't worth their time. It's like investing your time poorly. It's like somebody, I always say this to people where they're like, I don't have time to read, and I'm like, if you spent half as much time reading as you do on social media, like how much time would you get, how much time do you actually have to read? And people are always like, oh, you know, so if you think about like where you're investing your energies, it's not that we don't have the energy, it's sometimes it's misdirected. And right now what I'm getting is that the masculine is misdirecting their energy. And it goes back to this card, this Seven of Pentacles. You know, it's like investing your energy in the wrong source. It's like watering your neighbor's garden instead of tending to your own. It's like, sure, I don't understand why anybody would do that, but so that's what the masculine is right now. It's like they have the opportunity and they have the power, and I mean this is a magician energy, to make these changes and to use this powerful energy that they have at their disposal to do the things, but they're not doing it. So what's connecting them is that definitely big awakened transformation, magical energies. It feels like the feminine has kind of gone along with the flow, gone with the process. The masculine is still resisting it. So what is the divine guidance for this connection right now? Creator of Bells in reverse for the feminine, and the Ace of Swords for the divine masculine. It's very interesting. So the Creator of Bells in reverse is saying, this is funny. This is one of my favorite cards in this deck. I'm going to show it to you. It's just, it's beautiful. Again, the artwork is just beautiful, but this card is just funny to me because it's literally about kind of the sharp tongue goddess energy. So it's like the Creator of Bells in reverse is she can be sharp tongue, okay? This is something that's like, it's about, you know, it's definitely about accountability. It's definitely about someone who has a desire to call people like very justice oriented, definitely like naming the truth, speaking the truth, speaking truth to power. In the upright position, this would be a person who is, you know, literally like speaking truth to power. It's the people like Tarana Burke who created the Me Too movement. It's like Kenyette Tisha Barnes, who is the co-founder of the Mute R. Kelly movement. It's the people who speak out about you know, the abuses against women. Anyway, it's just that kind of energy. Now in reverse, this can tend toward the toxic. This can tend toward someone who is not being mindful with their words and who tends to cut without necessarily doing the research. And so what this is saying, divine guidance is saying, like, look, feminines, like that bent you have toward justice, that you want to call things, that you want to speak truth to power, you want to be an advocate, you want to push for justice. That's great. That's wonderful. Be careful that you don't let it get out of balance, because if it gets out of balance, then you become part of the problem too. So feminines, just be very mindful that you're not getting into that energy of just being cutting. That if you feel like you need to engage in accountability or any of that kind of energy, especially towards your divine masculine, that it's coming from a space of love and kindness and you know, accountability, because accountability can be loving, but it doesn't have to be cutting. So just be very mindful that you don't get into that. That is, you know, staying away from the idea of like that dualistic or polarized thinking, that not everything is black and white. We have to look at the nuance. We have to look at all the things. So it's like, if you're just always try to come from a place of love and compassion. It doesn't mean making excuses or accepting things that you shouldn't accept. It just means coming from a space of love and compassion and making sure that it's not about just like using that sharp tongue to cut people because you can. Okay? divine guidance for the masculine is saying, like, this is the divine is warning the masculine with this card. This literally is a warning card. It's saying, look, there is danger or disaster ahead. Okay? This is somebody who is allowing, they could allow their pain. Okay, so like I said earlier, there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of that kind of energy, like I don't feel like I have what it takes, and they could, if they're not careful, that pain can get misdirected into anger, hatred, conflict, arguments, creating an enemy. It's like not necessarily, it's like you could use this energy for the positive and illuminate your path, or you could misdirect that energy and end up creating more conflict and strife and things that you don't want. So this is the divine guidance for the masculine, is just be careful. Be careful of how you're directing that energy, because you can transmute negative or lower level energies into something positive, or you can choose to create something negative. What you do with that is up to you, but this is definitely, both of these feel like warning signs for the divine masculine, divine feminine. Just be careful. Just be very conscious about how you're using your energies. It feels like the masculine is on a path, the masculines I'm channeling right here could be on a path to their own tower moment, where it's like all of these things that they have been trying to accomplish, all of these feelings of guilt and shame and not being good enough, could end up leading them to having some kind of things falling apart energy, if they're not very conscious about what they're doing. So I'm going to move these aside. The last cards I'm going to pull are for the outcome. So what can we expect for this connection? The Nurturer, which is the Empress, and the Two of Wands in reverse. So again, I feel a little more positive for the feminines right now. Feminines are like, okay, what is coming is that the feminines are definitely bringing into this connection is manifesting whatever it is that they've been visualizing. Okay, so it's like they are going to see this come to reality. Whatever this dream that they've been nurturing is going to come to pass, and they're going to feel very positive about that. It's just this, whether it's a job, a business, a book, artwork, whatever it is, it's just about a time to nurture the vision, nurture the growth. So what I'm seeing is that the feminine will definitely be bringing in this nurturing energy. Again, even if you're not in physical union with or even in communication with your masculine, you can still nurture and contribute that energy to the connection. Now, what the outcome that the masculine is bringing is the Two of Wands in reverse. This is like, again, dissatisfaction, kind of putting themselves last because they want to maintain the illusion that they're successful, or they want to perpetuate the image that they're really this like loving and benevolent person when they're not really doing that. This is talking about a house divided. It's lack of personal fulfillment. It is someone who's living out kind of a hypocrisy, like they say they value one thing and then they do something else. So what I'm getting from this is that, because this is the outcome energy, is that the feminine, I believe, it will heed this guidance. Well, whatever. Where's that card? The card that we just pulled, the Creator of Bells in reverse. The feminine will heed that guidance and be cautious and mindful of her energy. I'm getting that the masculine, at least the energies of right now, is not in a space that they want to hear, that they're ready to hear that they need to make changes. And so what I'm getting is that if they go on the path that they're continuing on, the feminine will see their dreams coming to pass. They'll see that manifestation. The masculine will continue down this path of discontentment and unfulfillment. Which again is not a terrible thing, okay? It's not a bad thing for that to happen, because It's as long as it leads to deep transformation. It's like sometimes we have to be really, really uncomfortable in order to change. I mean, I've seen this countless times in my years doing therapy. It was like, I'd be like, God, how long are you willing to suffer before you're going to make the necessary changes? But sometimes people have to be really, really, really uncomfortable to make changes. And that's, again, their own personal decision and their own, that's their own path. Everybody has to take their own path. So, a final message from the universe about this connection. The Five of Candles in reverse and the Ace of Cups in reverse. Y'all are having some intense energies right now. Goodness gracious. I mean, I guess I say y'all, but I'm in that energy too, so I can't say like that it's not, hasn't impacted me either. So the Five of Candles in reverse is essentially about reaching a space of compromise and understanding. It's like the conflict is coming to an end, okay? So it's like there was kind of this beef that was happening before, and now that beef is over. And so that's a positive thing. It's like I feel like this is coming, the connection, even though it feels like there's some conflict and some different paths right now, it's headed toward resolution. It's headed toward compromise and peace, where people are going to be working together to the highest good. Now the cup for the Ace of Cups in reverse is lost love, lovers quarrel, emotions, outpouring of emotions. And what I'm getting from this is that it's essentially like that the masculine is going to start acknowledging that they have, by denying this connection, that they're creating their own suffering and emotional loss, and that they've been watering the wrong garden. Whether it's they've been overly focusing on work, or they've been focusing on relationships or karmic situations, all of this discontent is going to lead to this outpouring of emotion. It's going to be like they're finally going to have, like, you know how when it's about to be a rainstorm and it's like the clouds are heavy and it's like they look like they're just really heavy, and then finally it's like the cloud breaks and then all of this moisture starts coming out. Like, that's what I'm seeing. It's like the masculine is in this buildup right now of all of these feelings of discontent, all of this effort that they've been, misguided effort that they've been putting in, is going to lead to this energy of this finally having the breakthrough emotionally, where it's going to, like, all of it's going to come out, and they're going to realize how much they've invested in the wrong spaces and how much they've been misdirecting their efforts, and they're finally going to recognize that by denying this connection, by denying their love for the feminine, that they've actually been contributing to their own suffering, and then they're going to make some decisions to shift that. So when that will happen, God only knows. But anyway, that's your reading for today. I hope that it was helpful. It's kind of a makeup for the last couple of days that I haven't been around, but I hope it was beneficial. Please let me know if you have any comments or questions, and be sure to like, share, definitely comment. It helps helps me understand what you guys are getting from it, and if there's anything else that you'd like to see. So I love you all again. Thank you so much for everything. Bye-bye.